I have some special treats for everybody who's physically in the temple room today. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Nada Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parvrajikacharya Asatara Satashishi Madhis Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Shri Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Shri Mukunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Mathura Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Gangamaya Jamuna Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnupadaya. Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharne Nivasesa Sanyavadi Paskatyade Satarne. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadvadutam Parijana Sahita Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Vanchakalpachubhascha Kipasindhavyevacha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevi Namo Namaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today is February 3rd, 2025 in New Goloka, Hillsborough, North Carolina. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 60, verses 3 through 6. And we do have some special things for those of you who are physically with us. So as you notice, we are burning some incense. This is a guru incense, which is talked about in today's verse. And I'm going to be passing out to you some guru oil that was offered to the Lord this morning. So a guru incense costs about $60 for a box, and a guru oil costs about $300 for a bottle this big, if you want to get real a guru. So I'm going to be running into that in the verse today. Tasmin antar grahe brajan muktadama vilambina virajite vitanena Deeparmani Mayarapi. Please chant. Virajite vitanena Deeparmani Mayarapi. Tasmin antar grihe brajan Muktadama vilambina Virajite vitanena Diptarmani mayarapi. Tasmir antar grihe brajan Muktadama vilambina Virajite vitanena Deeparmani mayarapi. Malika dama bhim pushpayar dvirepa kula nandite jalarandrar pravishtascha gopis chandra maso malai parijata vanamoda Vayuno Dhyana Shalina Dubar Agura Jai Rajam Jalarandra Vinir Gatai Paya Pena Nive Subre Paryanke Kashiputame Upastaste Sukhasinam Jagatam Ishwaram Patim. Tasmin, in that Antahagrihe private part of the palace. Brajat, brilliant. Mukta, of pearls. Dama, with strings. Vilambina, hanging. Virajite, resplendent. Pitanena, with a canopy. Deepai, with lamps. Mani, of jewels. Mayai. Everything okay? Yeah? Maid. Api, also. Malika, of jasmines. Damabihi, with garlands. Pushpai, with flowers. Dvirepa, of bees. Kula, with a swarm. Nadite, resounding. Jala, of the lattice windows. Randra, through the small holes. Pravishtai, which entered. Cha, and. Gobhi, with the rays. Chandramasaha, of the moon. Amalai, spotless. There's a alternate, sometimes some verses are different in different versions of the Bhagavatam, so there's alternate Arunai instead of Amalai. Amalai means without, Mala, without fault. Arunai means reddish. That will be picked up by the Acharyas. Parijata, of Parijata trees. Vana, of the grove. Amoda, carrying the fragrance. Vayuna, by the wind. Udhyana, of a garden. Shalina, bringing the presents. Dupai, with incense. Aguru, from Aguru perfume. So that's what I'm burning right now, is Aguru incense. Jai, produced. Rajan, O King Parikshit. Jalarandra, through the holes of the lattice windows. Vinirgatai, exiting. Payaha, of milk. Pena, the foam. Nibhe, resembling. Shubre, shining. Paryanke, on the bed. Kashipu, on a pillow. See, Krishna has nice kashipus too. Hiranyakashipu wanted to have nicer kashipus than Krishna. Right? Uttame, excellent. Upataste, she served. Sukha, comfortably. Asinam, seated. Jagatam, of all the worlds. Ishwaram, the supreme controller. Patim, her husband. BBT translation. Queen Rukmini's quarters were extremely beautiful, boasting a canopy hung with brilliant strings of pearls, as well as effulgent jewels serving as lamps. Garlands of jasmine and other flowers hung here and there, attracting swarms of humming bees. And the spotless rays of the moon shone through the holes of the lattice windows. As the guru incense drifted out of the window holes, my dear king, the breeze wafting the scent of the Parijata grove carried the mood of a garden into the room. There the queen served her husband, the supreme lord of all the worlds, as he reclined upon an opulent pillow on her bed, which was as soft and white as the foam of milk. PBT purport. According to Srila Sridhar Swami, Rukmini's palace was quite famous then as now, and these descriptions give a glimpse into its opulence. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti adds that the word Amala in this verse may also be read Arunai, Amalai, which could also be read as Arunai, which would indicate that when this pastime took place, the moon had just risen, bathing the entire palace in beautiful ruddy moonshine. So if you can be on the verse, so be on the No, on the translation of the verse. If you could just state on the translation, that would be great. Okay, thanks. Okay, so we're going to read some commentaries. So first from Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, who was also quoted in the BBT purport. The palace is described in order to show that everything was perfectly arranged by Rukmini to please Krishna with her loving service. The room was splendid, with shining jewels and a canopy adorned with hanging clusters of dazzling pearls. The word Amalai in this verse may also be read Adunai, which indicates that when this pastime took place, the ruddy rays of the rising moon were entering through the holes of the lattice windows, and clouds of a guru incense were streaming out of the windows. There Rukmini attentively served Krishna, who was lying on the best of beds, Kashiputame. And from Srila Jiva Goswami, the place where the pastime took place is now described in 7 lines. To describe their prema, first the articles acting as udipanas, which is what we're going to talk about today, for Krishna and Rukmini are described. 3.5 verses include the description of the house and the bed. 1 line describes Rukmini's prema, as she served him as he sat on the bed. She had a rectangular room within the palace, which had many rooms with rooftop apartments. The room was lit naturally by jewels, rajite, and particularly bright, virajite, by the canopies and jeweled lamps. Strings of jasmines decorated the doorways, and other flowers were sprinkled here and there. In some versions, dupai is seen instead of pushpai. This would be ordinary incense, since later a guru incense is mentioned. The moonways were red, Arunai, another version instead of Amalai, having just risen. This incident took place after dusk. The rays of the moon and the aguru incense suggest the beauty of the room. The fumes of the incense left the room before the moon rays entered. Thus a pleasant breeze is also suggested. Parijata plants had been established in each of the queen's houses by Indra previously. So interesting. Krishna and Satyabhama steal a tree, put it in Satyabhama's yard, then Indra gives all the queens a Parijata. The other trees existed there because of the relationship with the wind from the chief Parijata tree, which was like the prototype sandalwood tree. That tree was not sent there, but brought by the Lord personally. Not only was there the fragrance of the Parijata, but the fragrance of many other flowers in the garden Udjana. A guru incense streamed out everywhere, vinirgata, through the lattice holes. In the rooftop apartment there was an excellent bed described in 1 line. Rukmini served him. The continuous descriptions of her from this verse onward indicate her desire to serve him. And going to Srila Sanatana Goswami. Rukmini's quarters were, the place where the pastime took place is now described, okay, that's actually the same. Okay, the pastimes began in the evening. Parijata plants had been established in each of the queen's houses by Indra previously for pleasing all the queens. Not only was there the fragrance of the Parijata, but the fragrance of many other flowers. The breeze was cool because of the cool garden. Not only was it cool, but very gentle. A guru incense streamed out everywhere through the lattice holes. Seeing Parikshit shining with joy on hearing this, Sukadev calls to him, "O shining king!" Out of joy, the method of serving the Lord is described in 2 lines. In the room there was a bed with an excellent pillow. The descriptions of her serving is repeated to indicate her pleasure in serving. Okay, so we have a list of things here that are called udipanas. So in order to have rasa, rasa means a taste, a pleasure. Like when you're eating, you experience some pleasure, right? When we have relationships with others, we experience some pleasure. When we do things that are fun, we experience some pleasure. That's rasa. In order to have rasa, you have to have 5 parts. Think of it like a liquid smoothie that has to have 5 ingredients. Okay? So what we often just call rasa is really just one part. It's the staibhav. That's the basic relationship, like, say, friendship or neutrality or servitorship. That's a basic relationship. But if I just have a feeling of friendship with you and that's all, that's not enough for rasa. So you also need something that brings that out, that impels it, that stimulates it. I think about you, I see you, I do something for you, I meditate on you, I talk about you, that brings out my friendship. Is that clear? Yes? Just like all of us have friendships with people that are not in this room that we weren't thinking about, and so we weren't experiencing any rasa from that friendship. Correct? But if you think about them, then that stimulates that feeling. Okay? Then there's what you do. You eat the food. You give a present to your friend. You laugh with your friend. You go for a walk with your friend. Things you do. And then there's things that happen involuntarily. You know, you're laughing with your friend and you start to cry involuntarily. It's not an intentional action. And then there's all the range of emotions that happen in friendship. There's joy, there's fear, you're walking with your friend in the woods and you think you see a snake and you grab onto each other in fear. And so so those are the 5 components of rasa. The basic relationship, what stimulates the relationship, the voluntary things you do in that relationship, the involuntary things you do, and all the range of moving emotions. So here we're looking at what stimulates the relationship. And there's 3 categories of what stimulates the relationship. One is the object of your relationship. So when we're talking about rasa with Krishna, Krishna is the object. He's the Vishaya. Then others who have similar relationships are called the ashraya, or the shelter. So like if I'm friends with Mother Krishna Priya, so her other friends like Sadhvi may be a repository. And if I'm with Mother Krishna Priya and Sadhvi at the same time, Sadhvi's relationship or friendship with Mother Krishna Priya is going to increase my feeling of friendship. Does this make sense to everybody? Right? If you love your child, your spouse's love for your child, you're all together, husband, wife, child, the spouse's love increases your love. So they're like the ashraya. Then we have what's called the udipans. So the udipans is what we're talking about today. That's anything that can stimulate this rasa. You see your child's shoes. You see the picture your child drew that's up on the refrigerator. You hear your friend's name. Anything like that. So there are particular udipanas. And here, this list given by Srila Sukadeva Goswami is a list of the udipanas that stimulate the love between Krishna and Rukmini. All right, so first we're going to look at what are the general categories of udipanas. Then we're going to look at how Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes his relationship with udipanas in terms of one of the 6 symptoms of surrender. And then we're going to look at the nectar of devotion, or actually we're going to look in general at this verse, at the list of udipanas, and you're already experiencing a guru in the incense, and you're all going to experience a guru oil. All right, so the list of udipanas given by Srila Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, this is in the 2nd ocean, the Southern Ocean, in the first wave, which is bhivaba, what stimulates love. This is in text 301 to 384. This is also covered in Nectar of Devotion, chapter 26, what Prabhupada calls impelling. So the categories of these are Krishna's qualities, and this is a subtle point, which we don't have time to get so much into today, but this is separated kind of from Krishna. So if you're stimulated by Krishna, who is beautiful, that's the object of your love. That's Vishaya. If you're stimulated to love by Krishna's beauty, that's an udipana. Then we have Krishna's adventures, his chestaha, his activities, what he does. That stimulates our love for him. And then we have his embellishments and his attire, which is called prasadhara. Krishna's clothing. I'm sure the pujaris here experience this all the time. that when they're going the day before and they're picking out what's Krishna's clothing, what's Krishna's jewelry, these act as udipanas for their love for Krishna, as they're sorting it out, as they're choosing it, as they're putting them on him. His hairstyle, just like yesterday I was noticing Srimati Radharani's curls, and Gaurangi Priya told me that her daughter Pranaya had helped her to make these curls in Radharani's hair, and said to Gaurangi Priya, I could be happy being in the spiritual world forever just putting the curls in Srimati Radharani's hair. That's an udipana, when you're stimulated by the hairstyle of the Lord to feel love for him, the garland of the Lord. So again, those of you who make, we don't have Krishna Priya here, make the other Krishna Priya, not Mother Krishna Priya. We don't have Krishna Priya making garlands this morning, but many times she's in here making garlands. So the garland of the Lord, this also can refer to the necklace, jewelry of the Lord. So in picking the flowers, making the garland, putting the garland, if that stimulates love, tilak. So putting on the Lord's tilak, giving the Lord tambula, and the flowers that the Lord is holding in his hand, like his play flowers. Then there's all other kind of a miscellaneous category, which covers most of what's in today's verse. Ornaments, other than necklaces, and this includes the painted decorations. So you noticed yesterday on Krishna's face there were painted decorations. So the process of painting the decorations, looking at the painted decorations, can stimulate love. Krishna's smile. Now again, if you're saying, I'm attracted to Krishna who's smiling, that's a stimulus as a vishaya. But if you're just Krishna's smile, that's a nudipana. Krishna's fragrance, which Sri Rupa Goswami describes as an unprecedented river of fragrance, which reminds me of, in the Bible, the Song of Solomon. It says that the Lord's name is like a spilled bottle of perfume. So the Lord's personal fragrance is 2 parts musk, 4 parts sandalwood, 3 parts aguru, again we have aguru, and 1 part camphor. So I thought you might all like to, this is some pure aguru oil, and I'm going to talk about more aguru later, that I offered to Giriraj and Shalagram this morning. So maybe Ishwar, if you'd like to give everybody some of this, and everyone can have some idea of what actual aguru is. Sure. I mean, I also offered it to Prabhupada at home, but yeah, sure. Oh, we have some eager person here. Yes. So then Krishna's flute, his horn, and his conch shell are also udipanas. The sound of them, the different kinds of them, the look of them, and so forth. Krishna's anklets. Get your sister before she has to go back in the kitchen. There you go. Krishna's footprints. So very often we find Krishna's footprints are taken as udipanas. And if somebody wants to keep that Q-tip, you can just tell Ishwar Chaitanya and you can ask him for it. There you go. We have Dayavir Prabhu. You can keep it in your bead bag. The places that Krishna goes, which would include Rukmini's bedroom. So this whole, each of the individual items in this bedroom is an udipana, and the bedroom as a whole is an udipana. Then Krishna's devotees, but not the ones who are ashrayas. So let's say you have the relationship of Krishna as you're a friend, you're a cowherd boyfriend. So the other cowherd boyfriends who have a similar relationship with you, they're ashrayas. But then the gopis and the cows and the parents, they're udipanas. Can you understand a little bit of the difference of this? Okay, so let's say your love for your child. Okay, so the other parent, the grandparents, other people who have the aunts and uncles, other people who have a parental relationship with your love, they stimulate the love for your child because they have a love that's similar to yours. The husband and wife are looking at the little child and, oh, how beautiful. And the love for the child is like magnified and intensified by the parental love going back and forth. Clear? Okay? But if there's another child playing with your child, that can also intensify the love for your child, but that child's relationship with your child is different from your relationship with your child. Is this clear to everybody? So that would be considered, and maybe you can give Vrindavaneshwari some guru also. That would be an udipana. So the devotees in general are udipanas. Like yesterday, we celebrated so many Vaishnavas, meditating on the Vaishnavas, meditating on the previous acharyas, even if their relationship with Krishna is different from ours, acts as udipana. They stimulate our love for Krishna. Devotees in general can stimulate our love for Krishna. Tulsi is an udipana. And festivals. Ekadasi, Janmashtami, any kind of festival acts as an udipana. Okay, so surrounding ourselves with udipanas is one of the 6 items of surrender. One of the 6 items of surrender is accepting whatever is favorable for devotional service. And I have to actually put in the song title here. Okay. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Sharanagati has songs for each of the 6 items of surrender, and he has a series of songs for accepting what's favorable. So this is one of them that starts with Godruma Dame Bhajana. I'm just going to read the translation. On the banks of the celestial Ganges River, I will dwell in a cottage at Surabhi Kund in Godrumadam. Who's ever been there? Who's been there? Who's been to Bhaktivinoda's house in Surabhi Kund? This land of Godruma is very conducive for performing devotional service of the Supreme Lord and is non-different from the sacred place called Nandagram, located in the holy district of Mathura. Now he's going to talk about all the udipanas that he accepts. I will put on the garb that is dear to the devotees of Lord Gaurasundar and wear the 12 Vaishnav tilak markings on my body and beautiful beads of tulsi wood around my neck. Then by planting flowering trees like Champaka, Bakula, Kadamba, and Tamal, I will make an extensive grove by my cottage. So he's planting trees that are udipanas. I will put Madhavi and Malati creepers on the trees and in this way make a shady bower. I will sow a variety of flowering forests and different kinds of jasmine like Yuti, Jati, and Amalai. All these will be present there, arrayed in a charming fashion. I will install the Empress Tulsi on an elevated throne on the terrace. You can still see that there when you go. And then procure all necessary paraphernalia for having kirtan, such as mridanga drums, kartals, and gongs, and place them there. So we have another really nice song called Radha Kuntata Kunja Kutir. Again, I'm just going to read the translation. And here, so the first song was talking about how Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in this world is arranging a place for himself to live where that's full of udipanas. So now we're going to talk about how he's talking about where he wants to go, what kind of places he wants to go. The cottage in the grove on the banks of Radhakund, the great Govardhana hill, the banks of the Yamuna, Kusham Sarovara, Manasa Ganga, the daughter of Kalinda, the Yamuna, with her many waves, the Vamsivat, Gokula, Dira Samira, the trees and the creepers and reeds of Vrindavan, the different varieties of colorful birds, the deer, the cooling breeze from the Malaya mountains, the peacocks, the bumblebees. Remember there were bumblebees in today's verse? The pastimes with the flute itself, the buffalo horn bugle, the footprints of cows and the dust of Vraja, the rows of blackish rain clouds, springtime, the moon, the conch shell and the kartels. All these I know to be very conducive for the pastimes of Radha Krishna. I recognize in them a transcendental stimulus for making the Lord's charming pastimes more intense. I refuse to go anywhere if these stimuli to devotional service are not there, for to abandon them is to abandon life itself. Bhaktivinoda says, please hear me, O Kanna. Your entourage and paraphernalia stimulate remembrance of you and are the very source of my life. So not only, of course, do these stimulate the devotees, but they also stimulate Krishna in his love. You know, Rukmini is arranging everything in her palace in order to bring out Krishna's happiness. And so going through, again, we have this list. Let's look back at the list. Brilliant strings of pearls. So I've talked about this before, how the modern pearls we buy are cultured pearls, which are really just a piece of plastic stuck in a farmed oyster in a cage with a little coating of nacre on it. And the original pearls, you had to go dive into the ocean and be lucky if you found a real pearl. And there's not very many places today you can buy authentic pearls. Some places in Kolkata. In Bahrain, there's a law, you are not allowed to have any cultured pearl in the whole country. And I've been to their pearl shops where you can buy a 3-string necklace of real pearls for only $500,000 US. So imagine if you could decorate your room. Now, this is the opulence that was on the earth 5,000 years ago. You know, we're very proud of our opulence. And this is the kind of opulence. And Krishna loves pearls. Effulgent jewels serving as lamps. So, you know, our lamps are made out of plastic. You know, their lamps were made out of diamonds and rubies and, you know, that's just plastic. Those things, they look like jewels in these lamps, but they're not really. And we wouldn't want them to be. We would just attract thieves. Like Prabhupada says, you know, we don't want to give the deities real jewels. We'll just attract thieves. But still and that's what happened in India, right? Like there's that joke, what in London is not at all British? And the answer is the British Museum. You know, that the British went to India and they actually stole the jewels from the deities. You'll still find, like places like Tirupati, the deities covered with real jewels. But they would have lamps with real jewels. Garlands of jasmine. So yesterday the deities had jasmine, but that had to be imported in the winter, right? Of course, in the summer, we have people like Sham Kishori who grow jasmine and spends like 8 to 10 hours picking the jasmine from her garden and making them into, because jasmines are very small, making them into garlands and other flowers, and swarms of humming bees, which is interesting because this is dusk. Generally, the bees are sleeping at night, but still there was bees. And we could have a whole class just about bees. I mean, there's so many places in the Shastra that the bees are described. We have, when Krishna is talking to Balaram, Krishna mentions that the humming bees follow Balaram everywhere, even in Balaram's intimate pastimes with his own gopis. The bees are there. Now, normally, like if I'm wearing a garland like this, bees are not going to be attracted. They're not usually attracted to cut flowers. They're only attracted to flowers that are still living on the plant. So it's very interesting that there are bees attracted to Krishna's garlands and bees attracted to these flowers that are hanging in the room. That means they're not ordinary flowers. Then we have the rays of the moon, and the moon has just risen and the moon is reddish. You know, sometimes when the moon just rises, it's reddish. So we have these moon rays flowing in through the holes of the windows, right? And you have the aguru smoke going out of the windows. You've seen in a dark room when there's rays of light and there's incense smoke, you can see the smoke in the rays, right? There in the book Krishna Kanaika Kumudi, it's described that when Krishna goes to bed at night in the palace at Nandagram, that the rays of the moon look to birds as if they're rods, as if they're crystal rods. And so the pet birds in the palace, they try to land on these moonbeams. And of course they can't because it's just moonbeams, and so Krishna and his friends are all laughing. So there's a guru incense, and there's so much incense. Like here I just burned 2 sticks, and it didn't make much smoke at all. But there was so much incense that the room was filled with smoke, and the smoke was going out of the windows in clouds. Other places in the Bhagavatam it's described that there are so many clouds of incense smoke going out of the windows that the peacocks think they're rain clouds and start dancing because they think it's going to rain. Then also coming into the room is the smell of parijata. So there's a mixture of the smell of the jasmine flowers that are hanging everywhere, the smell of the aguru incense, and then the smell of parijata coming into the room. I mean, it must have been, just the smell must have been completely intoxicating, practically speaking. So there was the whole smell of the garden in the room. So we know in the nectar devotion, in the items of devotional service, in the list in chapter 6, it says that one must smell the incense and flowers offered to the deities. Of course, many times the flowers that we buy today have no smell, which always amuses me when we take flowers around with no smell and stick them in people's noses. I always think, why are we doing this kind of ritualistic thing? Okay, I'm just smelling this flower without any fragrance. And then, of course, most of the incense we offer nowadays is actually toxic. So the vast majority of incense, and I don't know what to do about this because people just donate all this incense. And if we use non-toxic incense, it's very fragile. It's very difficult to handle. It breaks very easily. And I just don't see how it's practical that we could do that. We'd have to have like special incense police or something, to make sure that we actually had proper incense. And to get proper flowers would cost an absolute fortune. It's just like getting real jewels. Nectar devotion in chapter 8, it says that if one offers incense, one should also offer flowers. Then in chapter 9, when Srila Rupa Goswami goes into more detail on this, he says that in the Hari Bhakti Sudodaya, it says, when the devotees smell the good flavor of the incense which is offered to the deities, they become cured of the poisonous effects of material contamination as much as one becomes cured of a snake bite by smelling the prescribed medicinal herbs. And Prabhupada also says that whenever we come to the temple, we should bring something to offer to the deities. So we should, as Prabhupada writes in the Bhagavad Gita, we should arrange our life so that we cannot forget Krishna. We should arrange our life with things that remind us of Krishna. But ultimately, everything can remind us of Krishna. Everything. Krishna says the sun and the moon are his eyes. He says he of purifiers, he is the wind. It says the birds are indicative of his artistic sense. He says he is our ability. He says he is the taste of water. Everything can be a Nudipana for us. Because there's nothing that's not related with Krishna. We don't have to all get a plane ticket in the next hour and run to go live at Radhakund in order to be surrounded by Udipanas. We're actually always surrounded by those. It's a question of whether or not we turn our consciousness to those. So thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. The Pujari clock is 1 minute off.
That incense this morning smelled good.
Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Kanvanta Maravindanalaya Taksham Bharavatam Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandar Ago Vidamaniya Vishesha Shobha Purusham Namaham Bhajami Govindam Hari Purusham Namaham Bhajami Angani Yasa Sakale Priya Priti Manti Pasyanti Panti Kayanti Chiram Naganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam
Adi Purusham Amaham Bhajami
Govindam Adi Purusham Namaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Namaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Namaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Namaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Namaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Namaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Namaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Namaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Namaham Bhajami Govindam Adi
Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Bracharine Nivishesha Sunyavadi Vaskachari Satarine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Bracharine Nivishesha Sunyavadi Vaskachari Satarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Radha Golokananda Radha Golokananda Shri Radhe Jaya Radha Golokananda Radha Golokananda Shri Radhe Jaya Radha Golokananda, Radha Golokananda, Radha Golokananda, Shri Radhe. Jaya Radha Golokananda, Radha Golokananda, Radha Golokananda. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe, Jaya Giri Govardhan, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Shri Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Srila Guru Deva. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki, Gaur Premanandi, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Garanga, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Chaito Darpanam Arjunam, Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam, Shreya Kairavya Chandrika Vitaranam, Vidyavadu Jivanam, Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam, Pratipanam Pranamrita Swadanam, Sarvatma Snapanam, Param Vijayate, Shri Krishna Sankirtanam, Nam Nama Hari Bahudan Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatrapitam. Spectacular. Very nice. Bhagavan Mamapi Dordaiva Rishami Hajjani Nanuraga Trinadapi Sunichena Charorapi Suhishuna Amani Namana Dana Kirtaniya Sadahari Nadaram Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Vajagadisha Kamae Mama Janmani Janmani Ishvare Bhavatad Bhaktir Ahoita Ki Tvai Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram Bhatitam Mam Vishameva Vambudao Kripayata Vavada Pankaja Stita Duli Sajashim Vachintaya Nayanam Galadashu Daraya Varanam Gad Gadarudaya Gira Pulakarnishitam Vabhukada Tavanamagrahane Bhavishyati Yugayatam Namishena Chakshusha Pravashayatam Shunayatam Jagat Sarvam Govindam Virahename Ashlishyavapadam Ratam Panastumam Adarshanam Marmahata Karotuva Yatatatava Vidadatulam Patomat Prananatastusa Eva Napara. Victory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. Oh, my Lord, congregational chanting of your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. Oh, my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O Son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. Oh, my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? Oh, Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so even if he handles me roughly by his embrace or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he's always my worshipful Lord unconditionally. Shri Shastastika Ki Jai.
I have a quick announcement. I was just in communication with Mother Prafullamuki, who's our dear God sister, Mother Dukkha Huntry, who's spent over 30 or 40 years helping Srila Prabhupada's BBT and book publishing, is very possibly on her way to leaving her body. It's not 100%, but the prayer that Dukkha Huntry wants the devotees to pray for is that she will remember Krishna at the time that she may be leaving. So if the devotees could please join us in that prayer, and if you need to be in communication with